All right, we are back for another episode of the Leading Groove. Tonight, I have one of my oldest friends in the punk scene. I mean, we got to go back over 30 years
Yeah,
now.
it's 30 plus.
Yeah, so with that, I know I am going to get a bunch of. I'm going to get a bunch of love letters from our mutual friends that love you, but let's face it, you are a polarizing person,
Controversial.
and I think we can probably say the number of people that know and love you, like myself, are vastly outnumbered by the people that don't understand you slash hate you.
I pretty much say, whatever people say behind my back is none of my business.
Right. But I want to get into the fact of I try to always choose empathy. It's very easy to just go ahead and say, this person's an asshole. I don't like them. I've you and we started off with, the first time I met you, you were going to kill me.
That's right.
The
power of pussy.
Literally, I thought I was going to die. I think I was probably 16 years old. Maybe, you know what? I might have been 15 because I didn't have a driver's license. And I drove your then girlfriend and her best friend home from Miami because they were tripping. And I didn't have a driver's license. And I'm like, I got to be the hero. I got to get you home. And so that is how, I think once you figured out that I'm a good guy and I'm here sticking up for people and I'm not taking advantage of, let's face it. I mean, the two girls that were pretty messed up, they were, tripping balls. I probably could have taken advantage of one of them as a 15, 16-year-old boy and gotten away with it. But that's not who I am. That's,
right.
And so therefore, you've always respected me for that.
Immediately.
And, I think I figured out that I like to refer to you as people that don't get you, don't understand you, as you're the world's most fucked up superhero. You
I'll take that.
Yeah, well, listen, the people that don't understand, that don't get it, I think there's something missing in your brain that is a filter that says, I should probably not do this.
Yeah, it's called Tourette syndrome.
Right. I think I think the Tourette's is probably the least intrusive of your diagnosis.
Yeah, there's a constellation there.
Yeah. So those that don't know, Tony's. How old are you? You're mid-50s, 54?
I am 54.
Yeah. So 54, and you've been on meds off and on for, call it, 44 years.
Since I was 10.
Right. You currently take, call it, 6-8 meds a day to keep you.
That's right.
To keep you just a somewhat normal functioning person. Because I'm not going to call you normal, but
I'm my normal.
But 6-8 meds a day to keep you functioning, and to probably prevent you from killing somebody.
Well, it's about the impulsivity.
Right. So, should we talk about some of those early impulses, or some of the stuff I know about, or should we just skip all this and just get to music?
This is an interesting route we're getting to the music through. I'll just follow you here.
Oh, a next door neighbor is doing something, I don't know. Shall we say you live in a rough neighborhood and you find out your neighbors are dealing in prostitution and selling drugs. A normal person, I don't know. They may move, they may do, I don't know, 1,000 things. What does Tony do in that situation?
I don't know. I haven't been in that situation, but I know back in 1986, I found out who was selling cocaine to Spanish River High School students, and one of them died. And I went and found that house, and well, it went up in flames.
That's a different story than what I had heard. I like your story better. I had heard that, and that that it was a house next door to you.
Oh
and
no, it wasn't. I didn't even live in that area.
No,
No,
You just-
it took me months of researching to figure out where the person lived, and get to the house. And I sat in prison over that, didn't thought about it, and what I came to the conclusion was I didn't burn the dude's house down, it burned his parents' house down. So it was a really shitty thing to do.
right. The Now, what do we do if somebody's blocking your driveway?
We put a car bomb sign on that car and hope it gets towed.
Did it get towed?
Oh, it got a $95,000 response from the county. They came out with a forestry truck, the robot, the dog, the SWAT team, closed down the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And yeah, that car got towed. It was, to me, I felt like if I got to drive my truck through the front yard and probably break our sewer line, I'm going to get rid of this car.
Right.
So went down in the basement, spray painted a nice sign. It said car bomb and put it on the car.
So I think it's safe to say we've got some impulse issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. The what is going through your mind at these times? Do you not even consider that this is a bad idea, or just an idea comes to your mind and you act on it?
I act on things.
Yeah.
I always have.
Yeah. And are you just a passenger at this point, or
Sometimes you could that is not a bad way of putting it.
yeah, because I like to think of the Tony that I know and love as the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
I think I just heard that a few nights ago.
Yeah. So because you really are. I mean, you are, the kindest person that will go to the end of the world to help a friend, but other times you just might choke a cop out.
It's the alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it always alcohol though? I don't think it's always alcohol.
Well, it depends on
Is the
I'm
alcohol
actually
an excuse, or?
Oh
is
no! I completely something switches in me, and I absolutely act on all my impulses. I don't think about it at all if I'm drinking.
Right.
It probably has to do with whether or not I'm on my meds.
Right.
But it's primarily I'm a douchebag when I drink.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So when I told somebody you're coming to the club tonight and you're doing a show, they're like, "He's banned from there. He's not even allowed in there." I like to think that you mean well, but sometimes you just can't help yourself.
I had a rough start in life, so
Yeah.
there's some things that were ingrained in me early, and I do know there are points where I should stop, and I'm just going to let that part of my life out. Here's a
Right.
vent. And I know what I'm doing. I know it's a vent, and I
Right.
shouldn't do it.
So some of the and I know some of the people online and some of the forums have felt the wrath of Tony. Any apologies, or just
If anybody wants one, they can let me know, and I'm sure we can talk it out. I pretty much don't apologize for how I act unless I caught myself,
right?
which is infrequent.
Yeah.
And typically just to the females. I'll always tell them I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, dear.
Yeah. With that, shall we get into Tony's top 10? That isn't a top 10.
Sure.
All right. So I went through this list, and there's some great standouts on here. I'm gonna play the first one here.
Oh yeah, Gary Newman.
So, so Gary Newman, this, My Name Is Ruin came out in 2017 as a single.
Right. Well, actually, it was on an album, but
It was on an album.
Yeah.
It came out as a single, as a
promo.
Yeah, as a promo to the album. And I love Gary Newman for a couple reasons. I mean, I've seen a bunch of interviews with him, and he's just a freaking cool cat. And then me being an absolute car geek, he's had some freaking cool cars too,
And airplanes.
and he's flown around the world. Flown around the world on his planes. And then this comes out 2017. He's 60 years old when he releases that album.
And dark.
And it's dark, but it's some of his finest work.
Brutally honest.
Yeah, and it's not bubblegum cars. It's deep. It's meaningful.
That track is why he stopped touring. He felt he didn't deserve the attention he got from a song he wrote in 10 minutes or 20 minutes, something
Right.
like that. And he just threw it. But he never stopped recording. He just stopped touring.
Right. Now, funny you mention writing a song in 10 minutes, because your next song is a song that was written in 15 minutes. Here we go. I didn't put it. Oh, I know why I didn't put it in my playlist here, because it's not in Spotify. So Devo's Monster Man. I'm guessing there's an emotional connection here because of all the work you do rigging. This song was done for a show that was a prop builder show. And when they had asked Jerry Couse about being a part of it, he said yes and literally wrote the song in 15 minutes.
I did not know this.
I
like it because of the meaning. It's about, like Scooby-Doo, the real monsters are men. And I think the track is about all the monsters are in our heads.
Right. And it's funny. I'm much more of a Gates of Steel, Praying Hands.
Yeah.
So when I saw Devo on the list, and I'm like, Monster Man, I'm like, what the F is this? So I'm like, what the F is this, and why did he choose it? But because let's face it, when you think Devo, you don't think of a song that came out 10 years ago. You think of 30, 40 years stuff.
Right.
Now, the next one, I am going to just go ahead and say, within this genre, this is easily the best guitarist within the genre. Enesh.
Oh, yeah.
KMFDM.
Shreds it.
Yeah, what a guitarist. Those first couple releases, 85 to 90, I was a fan. A lot of the stuff that started coming afterwards,
It got recycled.
Yeah, when I quit DJing, I'm like, I'm done with KMFDM, But every time I come back and I hear, listen, an industrial song and you hear a guitar like that, it's Enesh.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's amazing. Now, next on your list, and for those watching, I apologize for shooting through this quickly. We have a band starting in, I don't know how long here, and we're going to wind up with a ton of noise behind us. First band goes on at 7:30. It's currently 7:03. We can do this. So... So Fear, No More Nothing. I'm so glad you chose this song, because I think Fear. I think Fear did themselves a great disservice. They when they went on Saturday Night Live, they played Beef Bologna. They played
their dick song.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got so many great punk songs.
They do.
And I mean, they're to me they're the godfathers of California punk.
I like that track because I'm pretty sure it's in line with my thoughts. I kind of have a personal political feeling, or somewhat political, that, disarmament through deployment.
Right.
And the song is about just screw it, Let's get it done with. Let's start over. Shoot the missiles.
Right. But I mean, I think it's rather tongue in cheek. I mean.
Oh yeah.
They're very. I mean, I think they're very much anti-war. They're very much talking about sending kids off to die.
Yeah. Bomb the Russians.
Right. So I mean.
It is snarky.
Yeah. But I'm glad you chose that, not something like More Beer, because I mean every time you hear somebody say Fear, or they're wearing a Fear T-shirt, it's always More Beer.
Fear, More Beer, yeah.
And
that was so.
Yeah, and I don't think it's properly representative of who they were as a band. Another band that I'm glad you chose this song. Another great band, early punk band.
Oh yeah.
The Buzzcocks.
That was my introduction to punk.
Yeah.
First band I ever heard. I was at South Tech taking commercial art, and one of my fellow students just gave me a tape, and this was on it.
Awesome. So, while they're a late 70s punk band, I would like to say that I think they paved the way for emo. I mean, listen,
the rhythm and the choral.
Band, all the harmonies, I mean, writing about love. I mean, how many other punk bands are doing that?
Well, they weren't, because they didn't want to talk about your girlfriend in your car, but the Buzzcocks' delivery was
perfect.
Yeah, it was really bare bones. It wasn't dressed up.
So I'm going to forward this a little.
You were flying through the skies of anywhere.
Heavy.
Get the courtesy card to the Sheraton. There's live on the spot reports from.
So that's New Model Army. You weren't there. Again, picking a later release from a classic band. That's not early New Model Army. A lot of people that like New Model Army probably don't even realize this album came out.
It wasn't that long ago.
No, but to me, the thing I love about Justin Sullivan, there's so much desperation in his voice, and
he means it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're such a great band. He's an amazing singer-songwriter, and
there's a theme in my picks. It's not necessarily that I went to a certain area or a recent or old. That's not part of my decision making.
No, you're kind of all over the place here, which is great.
But all these tracks kind of speak for me. They're songs that really, they're in me.
Yeah. Speaking of something that's in you.
Love it.
Please stop before I do it again. Just talk about nothing. Let's talk about nothing.
I mean, is there a band in punk that, one, has more brilliant writing,
He's a freaking professor.
Yeah, fucking doctor.
Yeah.
Doctorate.
Yeah, PhDs.
So But I mean, forget all that. I mean, just such a great band. I can't.
Infected
I
is actually their boyfriend girlfriend track. That is about couples.
is it?
Yes, if you listen to it, it's like the real raw, nitty gritty stuff that goes on in the bedroom, in the living room, and I don't know, it's just very personal.
It's. I don't know. I mean, I've got so much Bad Religion, and yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about them as a band, and I'm just gonna stop. Um, Here's one that is completely different from, actually, the next couple ones are a bit different from the rest. New Order, Everything's Gone Green.
The precursor to Blue Monday.
Yep. So this is on Substance. Came out in 1987.
Yeah.
Like it says right on the album cover. And when Peter Hook was here with the Light, I actually got him to sign my New Order Substance
nice.
album. I'm going to go ahead and say I mean, Peter Hook to me has got to be, I don't know, probably one of the top 5-10 bass players. I mean,
An
for
influencer.
for these, dance rock tracks. I mean, there's so few people that come even close.
When they cut an album, the whole world watches. The whole music industry takes cues from them.
Absolutely. Cure's Pornography. The Hanging Garden.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I thought I took this off my list.
You did.
You did. No, I love The Cure.
So I listened to Lal Tolhurst and Budgie from Susie and the Banshees have a podcast they do together.
Okay.
So drummer for the Slits, the Creatures, and the Banshees, and the drummer for the Cure. It's interesting to hear that Lal says they considered themselves a psychedelic punk band.
Sure.
And, like they were heavily influenced by the Doors and, bands like that. I found that so interesting.
Lots of hollow body.
Yeah. And now Jeff Rye and Floyd and Derek that all DJ'd with me at Foundation. So it's what's interesting is we all love The Cure, and we could all DJ one night without talking to each other. We would all play The Cure, but we would all play completely different songs because we all like different eras of The Cure, and it's great, and also with the Banshees, because there are two bands that had such long discographies that, I mean, I love that early stuff.
And they changed the flavor.
Yeah, 10:15 Saturday Night, Grinding Halt. I love that stuff. I think Jeff would be more Pornography era. I'm not even sure where Derek and Floyd, but we were all in different little areas within that, and I think it speaks volumes for a band that just went on to create album after album that was great, that has so many generations of kids that still love them.
Yeah, you can go with your parents.
Yeah. So this is another one I'm glad you put in.
This track gives me the chills right now.
So that's Temptation by Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. This kind of pisses me off because they're a band. I never got into Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, but every single time I heard them, I'm like, who's this? So I was like, it's Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. I'm like, I got to go out. I got to get this album. And I never did, and I never got into them. And every time I hear them, I'm like, man, that's good. And I have no excuse. I I should have, and I never did.
I would pick them over Sisters of Mercy. I mean, I feel like that good about them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that I would compare them.
I
mean,
know it's odd.
Yeah, because I mean, listen, I mean, Andrew Eldritch is kind of off on his own with with that voice, and I mean, Sisters of Mercy, that early stuff, it's
the driving chords that where I
Right.
kind of see a parallel.
yeah, but I mean, Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry is a real band. They got a real drummer. I mean, everybody in Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry is proficient at their instruments. Sisters of Mercy,
Drum
they're-
machine.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Avalanche. They, I think they got off, or should I say they made their way with just they got lucky with some good hooks. And I mean, some of that early stuff that really wasn't very good. Alice, Floor Show, musically, it's not very good.
Yeah, it was
But-
kind of cardboard.
but it's so good.
It's the hooks, like you
Yeah,
said. It's their composition. It's the way they orchestrate.
Right. And then later, around Vision thing, where a lot of people are like,
It's my
they
favorite
sold
album.
out. Yeah, they're like, Vision thing sucks. They're not the same. You're right, they're not the same. They're a real band now. They can play their instruments. They got, I mean, Tony James from 6 Sputnik is in there now, and
Vision thing was a rockin' album.
Ribbons is on there. Fantastic stuff. More.
Dr. Jeep.
Yeah, I mean, so many great songs. But it's funny. So many traditionalists are like, oh, they sold out. Come on. I mean, it's a great album.
Publish a magazine and say it.
Right.
We don't care.
So another band that you picked here, I've never heard of. Until I played this song today, never heard of them before, never heard the song before. Let's see if I can pull it on YouTube without getting a commercial. No, of course not.
Is it going to behind the scenes? Is that who it is?
Yep.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they're kind of a little unknown, and they're devastatingly killer.
The
Dumpster Dave Endershot turned me on to them.
You're kidding.
That's who I found it from.
That makes sense. Here you go. Speaking of polarizing people.
The reason to last long. The reason to last long.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big into the goth scene. I don't know what to think of. I don't really have much to say about them. Your song, your choice, your list. What do you got?
Again, it's like it's more of a theme with all these different tracks. They're things that I identify with, and they speak for me. And Human is about, well, it's about revealing ourselves to one another, and it's very eloquently scripted. And I think it's important, and it's left out of music so much.
So many songs, that it's funny as I go through my record collection, it's like, oh man, like so many people, like, you come to the club and the DJs today, they don't know it. Some of these bands, they don't show up in the, in the halls of punk, because they're just like weird little, one-off bands or something.
That's like my favorite. Those are always my favorites.
So, the 12th band in your top 10. Listen, you're Tony. You get an exception. You do whatever the hell you want. So, with your history, I'm certainly not going to say no to you. So.
All right, we're talking about Pink.
Abney Park.
Oh yeah, digging it.
So, song you chose is "We're Going Down."
State of the Nation.
I got a couple thoughts on them.
But this captain is feeling fast. If we don't, we'll all take a dip. And this trip ain't gonna last. The bilge is filling with water. And the seas all crashing in.
So, go ahead. Tell me your thoughts on them. I've got some follow-up thoughts.
Well, I mean, it's clearly like a sea shanty type song, and it's telling a story about, things are looking bad and they're falling apart, but at the last minute we pull things together and we're going to be all right. And that's like, again, that's what I am. I'm an apocalyptimist. In the face of certain devastation, I think things are going to be all right anyhow.
Yeah. And if they're not, we won't be here to argue it anyways.
Yeah.
So, to me, Abney Park, they're such a strange band, and they're very fun, very smart, and very cabaret.
Oh yeah. Violins, everything.
So they also, I don't know if you realize, they do a cover of Danny Elfman, Oingo Boingo's Dead Man's Party.
I have not actually heard that, and I've listened to a lot of that in New York. Wow, I shouldn't have touched it. That's terrible.
And here's another cover that they do. There's several. I'm going through their catalog. I found a couple covers, but here's another one. Probably shouldn't have touched, but it's certainly worth a quick listen.
What?
Cab Calloway.
Oh my God!
Cab Calloway is Minnie the
horrible.
Moocher. So here's the thing.
Wasn't bad.
I have absolutely zero interest in hearing that song, either of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I really have no interest in hearing Abney Park at all. However, I would love to see them live.
Yeah, they're performers.
I mean, again, it is a cabaret, and I think it's going to be like, like a ska band covering the Beatles. It's probably going to be terrible, but you still want to see it live. It's
They're
going
a
to be
spectacle.
fun. It's going to be fun, and I think Abney Park is probably the epitome of whether you like their music or not. I have a feeling and I have nothing to back this up other than just hearing the music and getting a vibe for what they're like, but I have a feeling you go to one of their shows, whether you like their music or not, you are going to be blown away, and you're going to have a show, and whatever you paid for that ticket is going to be worth it.
I don't like. I've never bought an album because I
Right.
don't like the majority of their material. But like each album has a track or two,
Right.
and I just compile them in my phone.
Right.
I don't purchase their material.
No.
There's not enough of it's good enough to But yeah, I would imagine the show would be amazing because I've seen some live sets on YouTube and they're performers, big time.
Right. That is all 12 of our top 10.
Hell yeah.
So
Thank you for having me, Brian.
you are welcome. But before I let you go, I'm going to bring up something that you and I spoke about offline before, which is because the whole gist of my show is, we're old punks and we talk about punk, but just because we're old punks and we talk about punk doesn't mean that we don't appreciate other genres.
Yeah, I don't pigeonhole myself.
A band you had mentioned, which I said I didn't want to talk about, Megadeth. so before I got into the scene, I don't know. Did you know Ray Titus, drummer for the Believers, drummer for Vegan Reich?
I lived with Ray Titus.
Did you?
Briefly, and everybody thought I was banging his mom, Mary.
Oh my God. So
I was not banging Mary.
So Ray, another person, just one of the kindest people in the world.
He's touched.
And I wish I could find him. Anybody in the world, if you know Ray Titus, please have him contact me. Love this guy. He is who actually got me into the scene. When I first moved here, ninth grade.
It's interesting.
He was in my PE class. We went to Twin Lakes, which was one of the worst schools and one of the worst neighborhoods. Yeah, one of the worst schools and one of the worst neighborhoods of the country. The West Palm at the time was what's called the murder capital of the United States. And I come to school and I'm into Megadeth but like he and I are the only two white kids in the class. So he's asked me what I'm into, and I'm like, Megadeth, Iron Maiden. He pulls a tape out of his Walkman, hands it to me, and he's, listen to this. It just gives me a tape, and it's DRI, it's Dead Kennedys, it's 7 Seconds, it's...
Nice comp.
Agent Orange. Just so many great bands. And, to this day, I've almost not listened to anything other than punk genre stuff. That's not true because I've gotten into blues, I've gotten into some jazz, I've gotten into a bunch of other stuff since, but
I listen to everything.
My forward progression from that day forward was, I'm into punk. This is what I'm into now.
Drove it home for you.
Yeah, and it changed my life. And what's it called? He's the one that dragged me to the KKK march on Worth Avenue that I started a riot at.
Oh my God, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah,
I did do that.
Yeah, I started that riot.
That
on
was
Worth
a
Avenue.
legend.
Yeah.
You're a legend for that.
What's it called? My parents saw me being dragged across the street on news.
Why aren't you on your sailboat?
Yeah, I called them at like 7 o'clock. They saw me in the 5 o'clock news. They're like, I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping over at my friend's house tonight. They're like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. They're like, are you sure you're okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Why do you keep asking me? They're like, are you in jail? I'm like, no. Why? They're like, we saw you being dragged across the street by a cop. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I didn't get arrested. I'm not in jail.
Can we restart?
I took off. I'll tell you about it tomorrow. But yeah, that was Ray that took me to that. And again, anybody knows Ray Titus, send him our way. We love him. I got a gift package for him. I hear the band starting in the background, so we are going to end the night on that lovely note. And thank you so much for coming. Truly been a brother to me for over 30 years. I love you, and I'm so happy you came out.
Hey, the Tracys are playing here Friday.
Yes.
Jenny Pavitt's band.
Tracy City.
Tracy City.
They will be here Friday night. Have a great night, everybody, and thank you for watching.